In order to understand why the first 3 years in a child's life are so important, it helps to know how the brain develops.
We now know, for instance, that young children do indeed have an incredible capacity for learning language and forming relationships, and that those abilities come really on the blueprint of human beings.
Recent discoveries in brain technology have given scientists the ability to see just how that blueprint develops. We now know that by the 17th week of pregnancy, a healthy fetus already has over 1 billion brain cells, more than a fully grown adult. But the cells are not in the right place. It's only after they form that they begin to travel to specific parts of the brain. What you see here is actual footage of migrating cells, something scientists have only recently been able to capture. Once these cells reach their destination, they form connections with other cells called synapses, which control various functions of the brain. By the time we're born, each cell has already made hundreds of thousands of connections, but there's still billions more to be made.
Peekaboo! Melody! Peekaboo!
From early infancy on into childhood is when brain cells form most of the connections we will keep through life.
And what will happen is, based upon a variety of factors, including environmental factors, experience, some of these will die off and some of them will be maintained. And over time, this incredible process of neuronal architecture is laid out so that you have a functioning brain.
As we mature, the brain physically changes due to outside influences. The most rapid change occurs during the first 3 years when a child is bombarded with hundreds of new experiences. It is at this point in development that the brain is most flexible and prepared to learn, building new connections where needed and casting off others that aren't used. This ability to rewire itself due to outside influences is what neurologists call brain plasticity.
One of the things that's really important to remember about development of the brain is that, in contrast to every other organ, the brain is not developed at birth. At birth, your heart is fully organized and it is pumping blood and it's doing exactly what it's going to do for the rest of that person's life. And it is just a tiny little version of the big adult heart. That's not the way the brain is.
In order to get your brain to be what it's going to be as an adult, certain sets of experiences need to take place. What parents do for their children early on can have a marked effect on the wiring of a child's brain. How you touch a baby, how you talk to a baby.
Say hi.
What a baby sees and smells all cause connections to be made. But unless these experiences are continued in a loving, consistent, predictable manner, the connections will die.
The brain is exquisitely responsive to experience. And in the absence of experience, all of these synaptic connections are not maintained. So they're all pruned back and the brain literally stays small. If you take animals that are raised in the wild, where there's a whole rich network of experiences, their brains are 20 to 30% larger than the brains of animals that are raised in the zoo. If you take children who are raised in an environment that is environmentally deprived, fewer colors, fewer pictures, fewer sounds, fewer smells, fewer interactions with human beings, less touch, their brains will be smaller. In fact, we look at the CAT scans on some of these kids or the MRIs on these kids, and the neuroradiologists, who know nothing about these kids really, they hold it up and they go, huh, this looks like an Alzheimer's brain. But they don't have Alzheimer's. They just didn't have the experiences that grow the brain.
As a baby masters new skills, new connections are made. A continuous process of wiring that reaches its peak at 3 years old. Then, as part of the process of normal, healthy development, the brain begins to rid itself of cells that aren't being used. Between the ages of 3 and 5, children will naturally lose about 40% of the brain cells they were born with.
So that if you really want to help organize a child's brain, you need to get to it early in life. If you provide the same kinds of experiences for the same period of time when somebody's 10, you won't have the same impact as you would if you did that when they were 2.
But it's not just a matter of presenting the right kinds of experiences at the right time. Your baby has to respond to what you do, which brings us to the first thing every child needs: interaction. The relationship between a parent and a child, how well they interact, is crucial to the development of a baby's brain. These pictures show what can happen if that interaction is disrupted. They were drawn by 5-year-old twins, identical in every way, except they each had a different birth experience. One had a difficult delivery and was irritable and hard to soothe right from the start. The other, who had no problems at birth, was immediately warm and responsive, making it easier for the mother to interact.
So right at the beginning, one child got all of this consistent, predictable, comfortable stuff from the mother, and every time that happened, a little bit more was built into that child in terms of being able to self-regulate, reinforcing all those good qualities this child had. This child, which was more irritable and fussier, the mother got tense. So by the time these kids were 5, there was a huge difference between the twins.
Clearly, the earlier you can engage a child's brain, the more it will develop. But many parents mistakenly believe babies aren't capable of interacting right away, that it takes a while before newborns can fully see or hear, and so they lose valuable time with their infant. For much of his career, noted pediatrician T. Barry Brazelton has been showing parents just how early babies can relate to others.
It was so obvious to me as a pediatrician that the baby made a major contribution to how the parents reacted to him or her that I began to look at what we could tell about babies.
Come on, open your mouth. See you do it. Oh my God, I don't believe this.
And we thought in those days that we couldn't see or hear, you know, that we thought they were lumps of clay. But instead, as soon as you begin to hold a baby or contain a baby, you've got all of this marvelous equipment to show about the baby and also to show to parents. Wouldn't you give us a baby?
It was for that reason Dr. Brazelton developed a series of exercises which not only test the infant's reflexes.
Here's one that I love. Isn't that wonderful?
But also help parents see their baby as a person.
Uh-oh.
Why did you say uh-oh?
Hey, I thought he was gonna cry.
See? And he doesn't. See how powerful he is? Let me try another one.
The idea is to show parents that infants not only have the ability to shut out distractions like light and sound, they're also capable of communicating their needs and wants. All parents have to do is read the cues.
We're really into a whole new era by understanding the baby and what they need in the way of a threshold that if you talk too loud, they turn you off. If you talk very quietly and slowly and wait for them to alert, then you've got that baby.
Brazelton's goal is to get parents to share their own observations and feelings about their baby, and to see for themselves how easy it is to tell just by looking what's going on in their child's mind.
Not using it with the parents is missing the real point of it, because as soon as you can show them some of these wonderfully organized behaviors, they see their future. They see the answer to their big question, how am I going to learn to be a parent? And the baby shows you the way.